Lesson 4-4, percents, and in this lesson you learn to solve percent problems and to solve problems involving simple interest. Okay? It's important to learn this lesson because you can use percents to solve problems involving finance, nutrition, and statistics. Let's take a look at this real world application on cosmetics. 3 out of 5 teenage girls wear mascara. What is the rate of teenage girls wearing mascara per 100 girls? Okay, so let's find out what we know about this. So we can solve this problem by using a proportion. A ratio of teenage girls who wear mascara to the total of teenage girls is 3 to 5. Okay, write a proportion that sets 3 over 5 equal to a ratio with a denominator of 100. Okay, so basically this is what we do. We get our uh, ratio of 3 to 5 and we equate to another ratio with a denominator of 100. Okay, 3 over 5 equals n over 100. So teenage girls wear mascara at the rate of 60%, or 60 per 100, because if you do cross products on this, you'll end up with 300 equals 5n, and divide both sides by 5, you get 60. Okay, so you get 60 per 100, or what we call 60%. Okay, so a percent is a ratio that compares a number to 100. 60% or percent also means per 100 or per hundreds. Percents can be expressed with a percent symbol, as fractions, or as decimals. Okay, so in this case, okay, 60 over 100, okay, is the same as 60% or 0.60. Let's take a look at example number 1. Example number 1, write 3/4 as a percent. We'll use two methods for this. Method 1 would be using a proportion. Okay, so we do 3/4, and then we equate it to the ratio of n over 100. We do cross products, we end up with 300 equals 4 times n, or 4n. Divide both sides by 4, you end up with n equals 75. Thus, 3/4, okay, 3/4 is equal to uh, 75%. So you get your 3/4. Doesn't want to show up, so I'll just write it. Is equal to, okay, 75 over 100. And at the same time, that's equal to 75%. And in method 2, we'll use a calculator. Okay, not a very popular method in our case. So 3/4 equals n over 100. So you're basically multiplying both sides by 100. 3/4 times 100, that's going to be 300 over 4. You're going to get the same thing. Enter in the calculator, 100 times 3 divided by 4. You end up with 75. Okay, so proportions are often used to solve percent problems. One of the ratios in these proportions is always comparison of two numbers, called the percentage and the base. The other ratio, called the rate, is a fraction with a denominator of 100. So if you look at the percent proportion, we learned this last year. The percent proportion goes something like this. Okay, you have, if you have 3/4 equals 75 over 100 from our previous example, 3 represents the percentage, 4 is the base, and the whole 75 over 100 is our rate. Okay, and we can also represent our rate, if you recall, with a smaller case r, where the smaller case r represents, and this now, I'm sorry, erase that, our smaller case r is actually, will take the place of 75. Okay, so in our percent proportion, we can do P over B equals, capital B that is, capital R, or P over B equals R over 100. Okay, All right, let me take that out because I'm going to open up another thing here. So the percent proportion is what I just wrote, is equal to rate or percentage equals R over 100, the lowercase r. So the percent over the base represents part of a whole, okay? And that's why you have it as a ratio. Let's take a look at example number 2, see how this works. Example number 2, 30 is what percent of 50? Obviously, we're going to use the percent proportion over this. Percentage over base equals R over 100. Okay, so the percentage is 30. Okay, and the base is 50. So we have 3 over 50 equals R over 100. Solving it, we have, using cross products, 3,000 equals 50R. We end up with, divide both sides by 50, end up with R equals 60. Thus 30, okay, is 60% of 50. If you recall, another way of finding out your percentage and base and the rate is that any number, okay, if you still recall this, any number, okay, after the word of is the base. Okay, so any number after the word of is the base. And if you look at this one, 30 is what percent of 50. So you know right away what your base is, which is 50. And we know that the rate will always be over 100. So it's either going to be in the form of a percent. Okay, so in this case, 30 now becomes your percentage. Okay, so the word percent represents rate, not percentage. Don't get confused on that. So if you find your base, which is 50, you can find your percentage, okay, which is 30, and finally your percent, which is your R. Okay, let's take a look at how we apply this in this type of problem. We'll still use the percent proportion. 20 is what percent of 30. You know right away that 30 is your base. 20 is your percentage, and what percent will be your R. So using the percent proportion, using a calculator, okay, you now have percentage over base, and you end up with 20 over 30, okay, because this becomes your base, this becomes your percentage, and what percent becomes your R, okay, and then we simply use that calculator. 20 divided by 30 times 100 will give us 66.666667. Okay, thus 20 is 66.6% of 30. This can also be written as 66 and 2/3%. Okay, why? Because 0.6 bar notation on 6 is the same as the fraction 2/3. Okay, you can also write equations to solve problems with percents. Okay, let's take a look at letter 3, example 3a. 60% of what number is 54? Again, we find first the number after of, which is what number, which gives us a clue that our base would be n, okay, or whatever variable we choose. So we use the percent proportion, okay, or we apply this first. We translate this this sentence into an equation, okay, before we use the percent proportion. So 60%, okay, is right here. Oh, that's of. Of is always multiplication. Where are they? Okay. Delete that thing. There you go. So 60%, okay, is 60 over 100. Of is translated as multiplication. What number is always x or n, doesn't matter, is 60, is 54. So if you arrive at that equation, you can now do 60%, 60 over 100 is 0.6, so that becomes 0.6. X equals 54. Divide both sides by 0.6. X equals 90. Thus 60%, okay, of 90 is 54. Now if we use the percent proportion using this one, let's do this then. If we know that our bases are n, okay, we can solve this using the percent proportion. 60% of what number is 54. So our rate will be 60%. So it's going to be 60 over 100. And since our base is n, put that n, and 54 becomes our percentage. So it's going to be the same thing. This will become 5400. 5400, okay, is equal to 60n. And if you divide both sides by 60, you still end up with n equals 90. So it's the same thing. Let's do letter B, translating this into an equation. What number is 40%? Okay, what number is 40% of 37.5? So we start off with what number? And that is our x. Is always translated as an equal sign. Okay, 40% as a decimal is 0.4, or 40 over 100 for now. And then of, as we talked about, is always multiplication, multiplication, multiplication right there. And 37.5, we should simply bring it down. So we simplify that to become x equals 0.4 times 37.5, which is the same as x equals 15. Okay, so thus 15% of 15 is 40% of 37.5. And let's take a look at one last thing, and it concerns simple interest. Percents are also used in simple interest problems. Simple interest is the amount paid or earned for the use of money. The formula I equals PRT is used to solve problems involving simple interest. And the formula I represents the interest, P represents the amount of money invested, called the principal, R represents the annual interest rate, annual means yearly interest rate, and T represents time in years. Okay, so again, important, R is your annual interest rate, and time is always in years. Let's see how we solve this problem using simple interest. Luis Hernandez has some money he has saved over the summer from mowing lawns. He wants to put some of it in a 6-month certificate of deposit, or a CD account that would pay 6% annual interest. He doesn't want to put all his money in the CD because he wants some spending money. He is hoping to earn $45 in interest to buy a new video game. How much money should Luis put in the CD? So what do we know in this problem? We want to find out how much money should Luis put in the CD. So we create a let statement. Let P be the amount of money Luis should deposit. How do we plan this? We plan this using the formula I equals PRT. But first things first, okay? That's your formula, I equals PRT. Okay? And then we simply substitute the values. Okay? $45 is what he wants to earn for a new video game. That would be the interest that he wants. Okay? And then principal is the amount of money that he should invest. That's the one that we need to find out. 0.06 will be the 6% annual interest, and 0.5 because it's 6 months. Okay, when you say 6 months, that's half a year. 0.5 will be your decimal for 6 months. Okay, so you have that equation, and now we aim to solve it. You now have 45 equals 0.03p. When you multiply 0.06 times 0.5, divide both sides by 0.03, end up with a principal of $1,500. Okay, so basically Luis should invest, okay, $1,500 in a 6-month certificate of deposit for him to earn $45. And checking it is easy enough. When P is 1500, I equals 1500 times 0.06 times 0.5, okay, or $45. Louis should deposit $1,500. Let's take a look at B. Whitney Williamson has 30,000 she would like to invest. She has a choice of two interest-paying bonds, one offering 6% annual interest and the other paying 7.5 annual interest. She would like to earn $2,100 in interest in 1 year. If she earns any more than $2,100, she would need to pay a higher rate of income tax. How much money should she invest in each bond? So she would like to earn 2,100 and nothing more. So that should be equal to 2,100. So we represent N be the amount of money invested at 6%, and 30,000 minus N the amount of money invested at 7.5%. Okay. So why is it 30,000 N? Because she has 30,000, and if she wants to invest part of it at an investment at the rate of 6%, okay, that means part of it would go to 7.5%, which means if she invests N amount, okay, of money invested at 6%, it is only logical that the amount that she will invest at 7.5% will be 30,000 minus N. Okay, and that's how you get your two let statements for this. In planning to solve this, okay, you have the interest on a 6-month investment, which is N times 0.06 times 1, because that's 1 year, or 0.06 N. Okay, again, this is coming from the formula I equals PRT. Okay, the principal is our N, 0.06 is our annual interest rate, and that 1 is for a year. Okay, and the interest investment at 7.5% would be, okay, 30,000 minus N now. Okay, again, the interest rate is 7.5%. The decimal of that is 0.075. For 1 year will give us an expression of 2,250 minus 0.075 N. Okay, so in trying to solve this, we want to add the two investments. Okay, so we want to get the interest at 6% and add it to the interest at 7.5%, should give us the total amount or total interest of 2,100. Okay, and let's start simplifying our problem. Now I have negative 0.015 N plus 2,250. Okay, because once we add 0.06 minus 0.06 N minus 0.075 N, you end up with negative 0.015 N plus 2,250, and we divide both sides. Okay, we divide both sides, or sorry, we subtract 2,250 to both sides. We end up with negative 0.015 N equals negative 150, and we divide both sides by 0.015 N. Okay, here add and then divide both sides by negative 0.015 N. We end up with a principal or an amount of $10,000. Okay, so what does this mean? This simply means that, okay, Whitney, okay, should invest 10,000 at 6%, and if she invests 10,000 at 6%, she needs to invest 20,000. She needs to invest 20,000 at 7.5%. Okay, so if we check our answer, 10,000 plus 0.06 times 1 plus 20,000 times 0.75 times 1 should equal to 2,100, and they do equal to it equals to 2100. And our answer checks out. Alright, and that's the end of our lesson. Thank you for watching.